All right, a very warm welcome to the YouTube family. We are reading this book, Don't Believe Everything You Believe, Everything You Think. Don't Believe Everything You Think. I'm sharing and pinning Meenakshi. You will be reading today. Can you see the book?
Yeah.
Let's over to you.
Okay. Don't believe everything you think. This one, right? Chapter 6 or 7. I think we have done yesterday. Chapter 8. How can we possibly thrive in the world without thinking? Anxiety is a thought without control. Flow is control without thought. James Clear. Here's a question that will guide you to an insight about this question. What thoughts are going through your head when you are doing your absolutely best work, where you are fully captivated and entranced by what you are doing in the moment? Take about 15 seconds to wait for an answer to pop up before moving on. If you still haven't had insight or epiphany from the answer, here's another question that may point you in the right direction. When you are loving what you do so much and you are completely engrossed in that, you lose all your senses of time and space. Aka, when you are in the state of complete flow, what thoughts are going through your mind as you are in the state of flow in the moment? Pause here and wait for the answers to arise. Give it 30 to 60 seconds from the insight to come in. When you are doing your best work and you're in total state of flow, where there is no separation between you and your work and the work that you are doing, you are having no thoughts in the moment. And if you are having thoughts, it's just flowing right through you without you having to think about it. In other words, the state of peak performance for human can be described as a flow of non-thinking, state of non-thinking. It seems crazy, right? But if we do our best work when we aren't thinking, and you just prove it through your experience. Here's another example that will help you illuminate the truth of this topic. When professional or even Olympic athletes are competing, do you think that they are thinking or over analyzing every single thing that's happening during the game? What thoughts or thinking do you, can you move ahead, think is going on during the competition for them? The highest performing athletes will describe when they are in their peak state that they are in the zone. The zone is the state of flow, of state of non-thinking. In Japanese culture, they have a beautiful word to describe phenomenon, mushin. Here is a definition of Shotokan times. I don't know whether I spell right, spoken right. Is it Shotokan times? Okay. Mushin is achieved when the mind is free of random thoughts, free of anger, free of fear, and particularly free of ego. It applies during combat and or other facet of life. When machine is achieved during the combat, there is an absence of loose or rambling thoughts. It leaves the practitioner free to act and react during hesitation. It reacts according to all of the study and training that has brought the karateka to this point, relying on not what you think should be your next move, but on what you train instinctive subconscious reaction directs you to do. After practice, thinkers hinders the performance of the athletes, and the same is true for everyone. We only hesitate, are reluctant, having doubts, insecurities, and fears only when we begin thinking and analyzing. We function and perform our best and embody our full potential the moment we enter the state of non-thinking. Without thinking, we are free from the limitation of the ego and are able to create the most incredible things in the world. I'm not asking you to adopt this belief, but to try it and experience it yourself so that you gain the insight to make it your own. Shall we go ahead?
Let's continue.
Okay. So
You
we
want-
shall move on to chapter 9.
You want to continue reading?
Sure. If we stop thinking, what do we do about our goals, dreams, and ambitions? There are no limitations to the mind except those we acknowledge. Napoleon Hill. I think, therefore I suffer. When I finally understood that thinking was the root cause of all my suffering, I was jumping up and down, exhilarated, relieved, and grateful for discovering the true reason everything negative I have experienced in my life. This ecstasy was short-lived, though, because soon after the exuberance settled, the next thought popped into my mind. If thinking is the root cause of all my suffering, I just stop thinking. How do I live my life now? What about my goals? What about all of my goals, dreams, and ambitions? Do I stop wanting things in life? Will I just devolve into a couch potato and not doing anything of my life anymore? In case you are wondering, yes, I am telepathic, and yes, I can read your mind. Just kidding. But if you are wondering how I wrote the exact and very similar questions and know what thoughts you most likely have right now, it's because I am human also. Contrary to popular beliefs, all of us are going through similar journey of awakening to our true selves. So rest assured that many people are. Can we move on? Can we move on, please? Next page. Many people are. Can we go behind? Many people are, okay. Having the exact same thoughts you are having right now as you come to see your true magnificence. 1 second, someone has come on my door. Just a moment.
I'll take up. Now back to the question of what we do about our goals, dreams, and ambitions if we stop thinking. As I pondered on these questions, an incredible amount of fear and anxiety began to surface because I thought that I would have to give all of it up and become a monk in the middle of the mountains. I was definitely not ready to do that. as much as I wish I were that enlightened and detached from my life. I genuinely enjoyed being in the world, experiencing the fullness of life with other people, even if a large portion of my life was filled with suffering. Here's what I discovered about what to do with our goals and dreams with this new understanding. As we have mentioned in previous chapters, there's a difference between thoughts versus thinking. The source of thoughts and the source of thinking are different, and the source is what will dictate whether it causes suffering or not. Similarly, where our goals and dreams come from will determine whether we feel great about pursuing them or not. Like everything in this world, there is nothing inherently good or bad. Only our thinking makes it so. Goals, dreams, ambitions are not good or bad. So it's not really an either or situation, but more about where those goals are coming from. There are two sources of goals created out of inspiration and goals created out of desperation. When goals are created out of desperation, we feel a large sense of scarcity and urgency. We feel heavy, like a burden. We may even feel daunted by the colossal task we've just committed to ourselves. Imposter syndrome and self doubt begin to manifest, and we always feel like we never have enough time for anything. We go about our life frantically, desperately searching for answers and ways that we can accomplish our goals faster. Always looking externally, never feeling enough or that we can never get enough. Worst of all, if we happen to accomplish our goal within a few hours or days afterwards, all of those same feelings of lack begin to resurface. We begin not feeling content with what we have done, unable to savor our accomplishments, and because what we did never feels like it's enough, we feel that same way about ourselves. Not knowing what else to do, we look around for guidance externally to see what others are doing, and they are continuing to do the same thing. Thus, we go ahead and proceed to set another goal out of desperation in an attempt to escape all of the negative feelings yawning away at our soul. When we dig a little deeper to these types of goals we set, they are typically means goals and not the end goals. In other words, the goals we set in this state of desperation are all a means to an end. There are always a reason we want to accomplish a goal, and it's always for something else. For example, we want to create a multi-million-dollar business because we want financial freedom, or we want to quit our job so that we can escape the stress and anxiety that comes from it. We feel like we have to do these things instead of want to. Goals created from desperation are typically realistic and created from analyzing our past and what we think to be plausible in the moment. It feels very confining and limiting. Although these types of goals and dreams may excite us in the moment, as soon as we begin to try to create it, we feel a lack and we are desperate to bring the dream to life. Paradoxically, if we do end up achieving a goal created out of desperation, we end up feeling even more empty than we did before it. The next logical thing we tend to do is to set an even bigger goal out of even greater desperation to hopefully make us feel whole inside. This is how most of us set our goals and we live our lives. I'm also not saying this to criticize or judge at all, but it reveals this reality of life, the reality of it. The only reason why I was able to describe it in painful and excruciating detail was because that was my life. Here's the good news. It's not your fault that you set goals that way if you are, and there's a way out. It's through creating goals and dreams out of inspiration rather than desperation. When we create goals out of inspiration versus desperation, it is a completely different story. In this state, we are creating because we feel deeply moved, inspired, and expansive. It feels like a calling rather than an obligation. It is like there's a powerful force of life coming from within us, wanting to be expressed through us, to be made manifested into the physical world. This is why painters paint, why dancers dance, why writers write, and why singers sing, even if they never get paid or make a living from it. We feel pulled by a force to create something. We gravitate towards it. We feel compelled to do it. When we feel like this, we are creating from a place of abundance instead of lack. Most surprising of all is that in this state, we are creating not for any reason at all, other than because we simply want to. We don't create because we feel like we have to. We create because we simply want to, and there's no other reason. We aren't creating these goals so that we can do something else or use it as means to get something else we want. This creating comes from a place of wholeness and abundance. It is an overflowing of love and joy for life. This is the reason why most of us wants to have kids, wants or have kids. Okay. It's not so that we can milk our kids for their money once they are old enough to work and hopefully use them as a retirement plan. We want to have kids because we want to share the abundance of what we have with them. And it comes from a place of sharing that we have lots of versus trying to get something out of them. This feeling of deep inspiration is incredibly difficult to describe because it does not come from this world. It really doesn't come from us, but through us, from something greater than us. I like to call this feeling divine inspiration because the ideas and visions we have of what we want to create seem to be far bigger than we could have possibly imagined and come up with ourselves. Since divine inspiration doesn't come from us, but from something greater, it doesn't analyze or rely on the past data or what you or anyone in the world has already accomplished. Divine inspiration is what happens when groundbreaking creations and inventions are created that seem to be impossible not too long ago. It knows no boundaries, limits, or constraints. It's an incredibly expansive force that energizes and lifts us, making us feel like we are high on life. In this state, we feel whole, complete, filled with unconditional love, joy, and peace. We don't analyze, compare, or criticize, judge, or rationalize anything, but instead, we truly live, love, share, give, create, grow, and nourish. It really is one of the greatest feelings we can experience. And it is truly a gift that we can experience the divine as humans. And it's because we are from the same source. Everyone has experienced this deep feeling and desire to create something marvelous in the world. That's out of pure inspiration and not desperation. Before moving on to the next paragraph, I encourage you to test this theory. Pause here and spend a few minutes thinking about times in your life where you felt an overwhelming feeling and desire to create something magnificent because you felt deeply inspired and called to. It doesn't matter if you actually created it or not, but just think of the time where you felt that feeling to create out of inspiration. Yes, I think we can take a pause here. Yeah. Give it a thought. Yeah, think about it, whatever author is trying to say today.